Hey there. So, today I'm going to be reading chapter 2 of Letting Go. So, we're going to be getting into the actual mechanism. This chapter is titled The Mechanism of Letting Go, whereas the last chapter in my previous video was more so about why are we even reading this book? That's kind of the point of the last chapter. So if you didn't see that video, I recommend going back and just watching it through for context. But yeah, here we go. The mechanism of letting go. What is it? Letting go is like the sudden cessation of an inner pressure or the dropping of a weight. It is accompanied by a sudden feeling of relief and lightness, with an increased happiness and freedom. It is an actual mechanism of the mind, and everyone has experienced it on occasion. A good example is the following. You are in the midst of an intense argument, you are angry and upset, when suddenly the whole thing strikes you as absurd and ridiculous. You start to laugh, the pressure is relieved, you come up from anger, fear, or feeling attacked to feeling suddenly free and happy. This is how great it would be if you could do that. Think of how great it would be if you could do that all of the time, in any place, and with any event. You could always feel free and happy and never be concerned by your feelings again. That's what this technique is all about. Letting go consciously and frequently at will. You are then in charge of how you feel, and you are no longer at the mercy of the world and your reactions to it. You are no longer the victim. This is employing the basic teaching of the Buddha, which removes the pressure of involuntary reactivity. We carry around with us a huge reservoir of accumulated negative feelings, attitudes, and beliefs. The accumulated pressure makes us miserable, and this is the basis of many of our illnesses and problems. We are resigned to it and explain it away as the human condition. We seek to escape from it in myriad ways. The average human life is spent trying to avoid and run from the inner turmoil of fear and the threat of misery. Everyone's self-esteem is constantly threatened, both from within and without. If we take a close look at human life, we see that it is essentially one long, elaborate struggle to escape our inner fears and expectations that have been projected upon the world. Interspersed are periods of celebration when we have momentarily escaped the inner fears, but the fears are still there waiting for us. We have become afraid of our inner feelings because they hold such a massive amount of negativity that we fear we would be overwhelmed by it if we were to take a deeper look. We have a fear of these feelings because we have no conscious mechanism by which to handle the feelings if we let them come up within ourselves. Because we are afraid to face them, they continue to accumulate, and finally, we secretly begin to look forward to death, to bring all the pain to an end. It is not thoughts or facts that are painful, but the feelings that accompany them. Thoughts in and of themselves are painless, but not the feelings that underlie them. It is the accumulated pressure of feelings that causes thoughts. One feeling, for instance, can create literally thousands of thoughts over a period of time. Think, for instance, of one painful memory from early life, one terrible regret that has been hidden. Look at all the years and years of thoughts associated with that single event. If we could surrender the underlying painful feeling, all of those thoughts would disappear instantly and we would forget the event. The observation is in accord with scientific research. The Gray-La-Violette scientific theory integrates psychology and neurophysiology. Their research demonstrated that feeling tones organize thoughts and memory. Thoughts are filed in the memory bank according to the various shades of feelings associated with those thoughts. Therefore, when we relinquish or let go of a feeling, we are freeing ourselves from all of the associated thoughts. The great value of knowing how to surrender is that any and all feelings can be let go of at any time and any place in an instant, and it can be done continuously and effortlessly. What is the surrendered state? It means to be free of negative feelings in a given area so that creativity and spontaneity can manifest without opposition or the interference of inner conflicts. To be free of inner conflict and expectations is to give others in our life the greatest freedom. It allows us to experience the basic nature of the universe, which, it will be discovered, is to manifest the greatest good possible in a situation. This may sound philosophical, but when done, it is experientially true. We have three major ways of handling feelings: suppression, expression, and escape. We will discuss each in turn. Suppression and repression. These are the most common ways in which we push feelings down and put them aside. In repression, this happens unconsciously. In suppression, it happens consciously. We don't want to be bothered by feelings, and besides, we don't know what else to do with them. We sort of suffer through them and try to keep functioning as best as we can. The feelings that we select to be suppressed or repressed are in accord with the conscious and unconscious programs that we carry within us from social custom and family training. The pressure of suppressed feelings is later felt as irritability, mood swings, tension in the muscles of the neck and back, headaches, cramps, menstrual disorders, colitis. It's spelled colitis. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Indigestion, insomnia, hypertension, allergies, and other somatic conditions. When we repress a feeling, it is because there's so much guilt and fear over the feeling that it is not even consciously felt at all. It becomes instantly thrust into the unconscious as soon as it threatens to emerge. The repressed feeling is then handled in a variety of ways to ensure that it stays repressed and out of awareness. One of these mechanisms used by the mind to keep the feeling repressed, denial and projection are perhaps the best known methods, as they tend to go together and reinforce each other. Denial results in major emotional and maturational blocks. It is usually accompanied by the mechanism of projection, Because of guilt and fear, we repress the impulse or feeling, and we deny its presence within us. Instead of feeling it, we project it onto the world and those around us. We experience the feeling as if it belonged to them. They then become the enemy, and the mind searches for and finds justification to reinforce the projection. Blame is placed on people, places, institutions, food, climatic conditions, astrological events, social conditions, fate, God, luck, the devil, foreigners, ethnic groups, political rivals, and other things outside of ourselves. Projection is the main mechanism in use by the world today. It accounts for all wars, strife, and civil disorder. Hating the enemy is even encouraged in order to become a good citizen. We maintain our own self-esteem at the expense of others, and eventually this results in social breakdown. The mechanism of projection underlies all attack, violence, aggression, and every form of social destruction. Expression. With this mechanism, the feeling is vented, verbalized, or stated in body language and acted out in endless group demonstrations. The expression of negative feelings allows just enough of the inner pressure to be let out so that the remainder can then be suppressed. This is a very important point to understand, for many people in society today believe that expressing their feelings frees them from the feeling. The facts are to the contrary. The expression of a feeling, first, tends to propagate that feeling and give it greater energy. Second, the expression of the feeling merely allows the remainder of the remainder to be suppressed out of awareness. The balance between suppression and expression varies in each individual depending on early training, current cultural norms and mores, and the media. Expressing oneself is now in vogue as a result of a misunderstanding of the work of Sigmund Freud and psychoanalysis. Freud pointed out that suppression was the cause of neurosis, therefore expression was mistakenly thought to be the cure. This misinterpretation became a license for self-indulgence at the cost of the others. What Freud actually said in classical psychoanalysis was that the repressed impulse or feeling was to be neutralized, sublimated, socialized, and channeled into constructive drives of love, work, and creativity. If we dump our negative feelings on others, they experience it as an attack, and they, in turn, are forced to suppress, express, or escape the feelings. Therefore, the expression of negativity results in the deterioration and destruction of relationships. A far better alternative is to take the responsibility for our own feelings and neutralize them, then only positive feelings remain to be expressed. Escape. Escape is the avoidance of feelings through diversion. This avoidance is the backbone of the entertainment and liquor industries and also the route of the workaholic. Escapism and avoidance of inner awareness is a socially condoned mechanism. We can avoid our own inner selves and keep our feelings from emerging by an endless variety of pursuits, many of which eventually become addictions as our dependency upon them grows. People are desperate to stay unconscious. We observe how often people flick on the television set, the minute they enter a room and then walk around in a dreamlike state, constantly being programmed by the data poured into them. People are terrified of facing themselves. They dread even a moment of aloneness. Thus, the constant frantic activities like endless socializing, talking, texting, reading, music playing, working, traveling, sightseeing, shopping, overeating, gambling, movie going, pill taking, drug using, and cocktail partying. Many of the foregoing mechanisms of escape are uh, faulty, stressful, and ineffective. Each of them requires increasing amounts of energy in and of itself. Enormous amounts of energy are required to keep down the growing pressure of the suppressed and repressed feelings. This is a progressive loss of awareness and an arrest of growth. There is a loss of creativity, energy, and real interest in others. There is a halting of spiritual growth and eventually the development of physical and emotional illness, disease, aging, and premature death. The projection of these repressed feelings results in the social problems, disorders, and the increase of selfishness and callousness characteristic of our present society. Most of all, the effect is the inability to truly love and trust another person, which results in emotional isolation and self hatred. In contrast to the above, what happens instead when we let go of a feeling? The energy behind the feeling is instantly surrendered, and the net effect is decompression. The accumulated pressure begins to decrease as we constantly let go. Everyone knows that when we let go, we immediately feel better. The body's physiology changes. There are detectable improvements in skin color, breathing, pulse, blood pressure, muscle tension, gastrointestinal function, and blood chemistries. In the state of inner freedom, all bodily functions and organs move in the general direction of normalcy and health. There is an immediate increase in muscle power. Vision improves, and our perception of the world and ourselves changes for the better. We feel happier, more loving, and more easygoing. There is feelings and stress. There is much attention and publicity given to the subject of stress without a real understanding of it, of its essential nature. It is said that we are more stress prone than ever. What is the what is essential? What is the essential cause of stress? Certainly it is not the external precipitating factors. They are merely examples of the mechanism we described as projection. That is, they, or it, is thought to be the culprit, when in fact, what they are feeling is merely the letting out of the inner pressure of repressed emotions. It is these repressed feelings that make us vulnerable to external stress. The real source of stress is actually internal. It is not external. As people would like to believe, the readiness to react with fear, for instance, depends on how much fear is already present within the triggered by a stimulus. The more fear we have on the inside, the more our perception of the world is changed to a fearful, guarded expectancy. To the fearful person, this world is a terrifying place. To the angry person, this world is a chaos of frustration and vexation. To the guilty person, it is a world of temptation and sin, which they see everywhere. What we are holding inside colors our world. If we let go of guilt, we will see innocence. However, a guilt-ridden person will see only evil. The basic rule is that we focus on what we have repressed. Stress results from the accumulated pressure of our repressed and suppressed feelings. The pressure seeks relief, and so external events only trigger what we have been holding down, both consciously and unconsciously. The energy of our blocked off feelings reemerges through our autonomic nervous system and causes pathological changes leading to disease processes. A negative feeling instantly causes a loss of 50% of the body's muscle strength and also narrows our vision both physically and mentally. Stress is our emotional reaction to a precipitating factor or stimulus. Stress is determined by our belief systems and their associated emotional pressures. It is not the external stimulus, then, that is the cause of stress, but our degree of reactivity. The more surrendered we are, the less prone we are to stress. The damage caused by stress is merely the result of our own emotions. The effectiveness of letting go and reducing the body's response to stress has been demonstrated in scientific studies. Many stress reduction programs offered today often miss the essential point. They try to relieve the after effects of stress rather than remove the cause of the stress itself. They concentrate on external events. This is like trying to reduce the fever without correcting the infection. For instance, muscle tension is the aftermath of anxiety, fear, anger, and guilt. A course in the techniques of muscle relaxation is going to be of very limited benefit. It would be far more effective, instead, to remove the source of the underlying tension, which is the repressed and suppressed anger, fear, guilt, and other negative feelings. Life and emotions. The rationalizing mind prefers to keep the true causes of emotion out of awareness and utilizes the mechanism of projection to do this. It blames events or other people for causing a feeling and views itself as the helpless, innocent victim of external causes. They made me angry. He got me upset. It scared me. World events are the cause of my anxiety. Actually, it's the exact opposite. The suppressed and repressed feelings seek an outlet and utilize the events as triggers and excuses to vent themselves. We are like pressure cookers ready to release steam when the opportunity arises. Our triggers are set and ready to go off. In psychiatry, this mechanism is called a displacement. It is because we are angry that events make us angry. Through constant surrendering, we let go of the pent-up store of anger, it is very difficult and in fact even impossible for anyone or any situation to make us angry. The same, therefore, goes for all our other negative feelings once they have been surrendered. Because of social conditioning in our society, people even suppress and repress their positive feelings. Suppressed love results in the broken heart of the heart attack. Suppressed love reemerges as excessive adoration of pets and various forms of idolatry. True love is free of fear and characterized by non-attachment. Fear of loss energizes undue attachment and possessiveness. For example, The man who is insecure about his girlfriend is very jealous. When the pressure of suppressed and repressed feelings exceeds the individual's tolerance level, the mind will create an event out there upon which to vent and displace itself. Thus, the person with a lot of repressed grief will unconsciously create sad events in life. The fearful person precipitates frightening experiences. The angry person becomes surrounded by infuriating circumstances, and the prideful person is constantly being insulted. As Jesus Christ said, "Why do you see the splinter which is in your brother's eye, but you do not feel the beam which is in your own eye?" That's Matthew chapter 7, verse 3. All the great masters point us within. Everything in the universe emits a vibration. The higher the vibration, the more power it has. Emotions also, because they are energy, emit vibrations. These emotional vibrations impact the body's energy fields and reveal effects that can be seen, felt, and measured. Motion pictures using Kirlian photography, such as those done by Dr. Thelma Moss, show rapid fluctuations of the color and size of the energy field with changes of emotions. The energy field has traditionally been called an aura and can be seen by people who have been born with or learned the ability to see vibrations of that frequency. The aura changes color and size with emotion. Muscle testing also demonstrates the energy changes that accompany emotion, as our body's muscles instantly respond to positive and negative stimuli. Thus, our basic emotional states transmit themselves to the universe. The mind has no dimensions or size and is not limited in space. Therefore, the mind transmits its basic state via vibrational energy over an unlimited distance. This means that we are routinely and unwittingly affected. That means that we routinely and unwittingly affect others by our emotional state and thoughts. Emotional patterns and their associated thought forms, for instance, can be picked up and received consciously by physics at a great distance. This can be demonstrated experimentally, and the scientific basis for this has been subject of great interest in advanced quantum physics, because emotions emit a vibrational energy field, and they affect and determine the people who are in our lives. Life events become influenced by our repressed and suppressed emotions on the psychic level. Thus, anger attracts angry thoughts. The basic rule of the psychic universe is that like attracts like. Similarly, love promotes love, so that the person who has let go of a lot of inner negativity is surrounded by loving thoughts, loving events, loving people, and loving pets. This phenomenon explains why scriptural quotations and common sayings that have puzzled the intellect, such as "the rich get richer and the poor get poorer," and "those who have get," as a general rule, therefore, people who are carrying the consciousness of apathy bring poverty circumstances into their lives, and those with a prosperity consciousness bring abundance into their lives. Because all living things are connected on vibrational levels, our basic emotional state is picked up and reacted to by all life forms around us. It is well known that animals can instantly read a person's basic emotional state. There are experiments demonstrating that even the growth of bacteria is affected by human emotions, and that plants register measurable reactions to our emotional state. The mechanism of letting go. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. It means simply to let the feeling be there and to focus on letting out the energy behind it. The first step is to allow yourself to have the feeling without resisting it, venting it, fearing it, condemning it, or moralizing about it. It means to drop judgment and to see that it is just a feeling. This technique is to be with the feeling and surrender all efforts to modify it in any way. Let go of wanting to resist the feeling. It is resistance that keeps the feeling going. When you give up resisting or trying to modify the feeling, it will shift to the next feeling and be accompanied by a lighter sensation. A feeling that is not resisted will disappear as the energy behind it dissipates. As you begin the process, you will notice that you have fear and guilt over having feelings. There will be resistance to feelings in general. To let feelings come up, it is easier to let go of the reaction to having the feelings in the first place. A fear of fear itself is a prime example of this. Let go of the fear or guilt that you have about the feeling first, and then get into the feeling itself. When letting go, ignore all thoughts. Focus on the feeling itself, not on the thoughts. Thoughts are endless and reinforcing, and they only breed more thoughts. Thoughts are merely rationalizations of the mind to try and explain the presence of the feeling. The real reason for the feeling is the accumulated pressure behind the feeling that is forcing it to come up in the moment. The thoughts or external events are only an excuse made up in the mind. As we become more familiar with letting go, it will be noticed that all negative feelings are associated with our basic fear related to survival, and that all feelings are merely survival programs that the mind believes are necessary. The letting go technique undoes the programs progressively. Through that process, the underlying motive behind the feelings becomes more and more apparent. To be surrendered means to have no strong emotion about a thing. It's okay if it happens, and it's okay if it doesn't. When we are free, there is a letting go of attachments. We can enjoy a thing, but we don't need it for our happiness. There is progressive diminishing of dependence on anything or anyone outside of ourselves. These principles are in accord with the basic teaching of the Buddha to avoid attachment to worldly phenomena, as well as the basic teaching of Jesus Christ to be in the world but not of it. Sometimes we surrender a feeling and we notice that it returns or continues. This is because there is more of it yet to be surrendered. We have stuffed these feelings all of our lives, and there can be a lot of energy pushed down that needs to come up and be acknowledged. When surrender occurs, there is an immediate lighter, happier feeling, almost like a high. By continuously letting go, it is possible to stay in that state of freedom. Feelings come and go, and eventually you realize that you are not your feelings, but that the real you is merely witnessing them. You stop identifying with them. The you that is observing and is aware of what is happening always stays the same. As you become more and more aware of the changeless witness within, you begin to identify with that level of consciousness. You become progressively primarily the witness rather than the experiencer of phenomena. You get closer and closer to the real self and begin to see that you had been duped by feelings all along. You thought that you were the victim of your feelings. Now you see that they are not the truth about yourself. They are merely created by the ego, that collector of programs which the mind has mistakenly believed are necessary for survival. The results of letting go are deceptively quick and subtle, but the effects are very powerful. Often we have let go, but think that we haven't. It will be our friends who make us aware of the change. One reason for this phenomena is that when something is fully surrendered, it disappears from consciousness. Now, because we never think of it, we don't realize that it has gone. This is a common phenomenon among people who are growing in consciousness. We are not aware of all the coal that we have shoveled. We are always looking at the shovelful that we are handling right now. We don't realize how much the pile has gone down. Often, our friends and family are the first ones to notice. To keep track of progress, many people keep a chart of their gains. This helps to overcome the resistance that usually takes the form, "This isn't working." It is common for people who have made enormous gains to claim, "It just isn't working." We have to remind ourselves sometimes that we were like what we were like before we started the process. Resistance to letting go. Letting go of negative feelings is the undoing of the ego, which will be resistant at every turn. This may result in skepticism about the technique, forgetting to surrender, a sudden upsurge of escapism, or venting feelings by expressing and acting out. The solution is simply to keep on letting go of the feelings you have about the whole process. Let the resistance be there, but don't resist the resistance. You are free. You don't have to let go. Nobody is forcing you. Look at the fear behind the resistance. What are you afraid of regarding this process? Are you willing to let go of that? Keep letting go of every fear as it arises, and the resistance will resolve. Let's not forget that we are letting go of all the programs that have made us a slave and a victim for a long time. These programs have blinded us to the truth of our real identity. The ego is losing ground and will try tricks and bluffs. Once we start letting go, its days are numbered and its power is diminished. One of its tricks is to go unconscious about the technique itself. For instance, to decide suddenly that the mechanism of surrender isn't working, things are still the same, and it's confusing and too hard to remember and do. This is a sign of real progress. It means that the ego knows we have a knife, which to cut ourselves free, and it is losing ground. The ego is not our friend. Like Master Control in Tron, the 1982 version, it wants to keep us enslaved by its programs. Letting go is a natural ability. It is not something new or foreign. It is not an esoteric teaching or somebody else's idea or a belief system. We are merely utilizing our own inner nature to get freer and happier. When letting go, it's not helpful to think about the technique. It's better simply to just do it. Eventually, it will be seen that all thoughts are resistance. They are all images that the mind has made to prevent us from experiencing what actually is. When we have been letting go for a while and we've begun experiencing what's really going on, we will laugh at our thoughts. Thoughts are fakes, absurd make beliefs that obscure the truth. Pursuing thoughts can keep us occupied endlessly. We will discover one day that we are right where we started. Thoughts are like goldfish in a bowl. The real self is the water. The real self is the space between the thoughts, or more exactly, the field of silent awareness underneath all thoughts. We have had the experience of being totally absorbed in what we're doing when we scarcely noticed the passage of time. The mind was very quiet, and we were simply doing without resistance or effort. We felt happy, maybe humming to ourselves. We functioned without stress. We were very relaxed, although busy. We suddenly realized that we never needed all those thoughts after all. Thoughts are like bait to a fish. If we bite at them, we get caught. It's best not to bite at the thoughts. We don't need them. Inside of us, but out of awareness, is the truth that I already know everything I need to know. This happens automatically. Paradoxically, one resistance to surrendering is due to the effectiveness of the technique. What happens is that we keep letting go when life is not going too well, and we are beset by unpleasant emotions. As we finally surrender our way out of it, and all is well, then we stop letting go. This is a mistake because as good as it may feel, there is usually more to it. Take advantage of higher states and the momentum of letting go. Keep on going because it will get better and better all the time. Letting go gains a certain momentum. It's easy to keep it going once it's started. The higher we feel, the easier it is to let go. That's a good time to reach down and let go of some things, suppressed and repressed garbage, that we wouldn't want to tackle if we were in the dumps. This is always a feeling to be let up and surrendered. When we are feeling good, the emotions are merely subtler. Sometimes you will feel stuck with a particular feeling. Simply surrender to the feeling of being stuck. Just let it be there and don't resist it. If it doesn't disappear, see if you can let go of the feeling in bits and pieces. Another block that may occur is the fear that if we let go of a desire or something, we won't get it. It is often beneficial to look at some commonly held beliefs and let go of them right in the beginning, such as, we only deserve things through hard work, struggle, sacrifice, and effort. Suffering is beneficial and good for us. We don't get anything for nothing. Things that are very simple aren't worth much. Letting go of some of these psychological barriers to the technique itself will allow an enjoyment of its effortlessness and ease. Okay, there we go. That's chapter 2. That was good. I guess we'll just call it there. The sun is fucking cooking me, but that was good. I look forward to reading the next chapter with you in the next video.